In our daily lives, typography plays a significant role. Almost wherever we look, including websites, street signs, food packaging, advertising posters, the videos and books we watch and read, we encounter it. To put it simply, is how text appears. It is one of the most crucial components of every composition, whether it is created digitally or physically. Every design can succeed or fail based on the type selection. Any text setting of mood and emotion greatly affects how the reader will interpret it. Today, you may choose from an infinite number of fonts and learn countless new design techniques. But you should begin with the fundamentals. What is typography? Typography is the practice of arranging printed letters into readable, visually appealing text. The word is derived from the Greek words typos and graphein, which mean to write and form, respectively. The arrangement of type, which includes font size and style, as well as space and the amount of material on a line and page, is referred to as typography. Typography's goal is to make content appealing and simple to read. Typography has been present since the 11th century, although it was first used as a special way to create words in books and magazines when there was little technology available. Each particular was meticulously planned, created, and carried out. Today, developing an aesthetic that can evoke a certain emotion in the reader is just as important as making the text legible. And in order to achieve this, it's crucial to educate yourself about this style of art and to practice, you guessed it, practice, important elements of typography. Your job will be easier if you are familiar with the basic typographic concepts and aspects. Let us start with leading. Line spacing or leading, which rhymes with heading, is the space between two lines of text. It's a crucial element that improves the legibility of your writing. It will be tough for others to read your lines if they are too close together, which is something you definitely don't want. It will be difficult if there is too much gap between your lines. Keep the balance, and if you occasionally are unsure what line spacing to employ, the default setting is generally acceptable. Tracking or letter spacing refers to the space that appears between the text's characters. You can typically use both positive tracking, creating more white space between text, and negative tracking while working with the majority of software and internet tools, making words appear tight. To make your composition look both beautiful and professional, be careful not to add more tracking than is necessary. Kerning is the space between specific characters. Tracking affects the distance between text characters, whereas kerning changes the distance between specific letters. Instead of huge text, it's typically used for single words, such logos. If tracking is applied to a word and you still see a space between the letters A and W, use the kerning tool to fix it. Alignment. Your text is aligned when the elements are of the same size, spacing, and distance apart. Your text can be justified, center-aligned, left-aligned, or right-aligned, among other choices. Hierarchy. The reader's attention can focus on the most crucial portion of the text with the aid of hierarchy. According to the hierarchy of your material, it enables people to navigate with ease and knows where to start and where to go next. Decide the components you want the reader to notice and make them stand out before creating a clear hierarchy. You can accomplish this by using a bolder typeface, other fonts, colors, or a larger text size. The principal typefaces, it's critical to comprehend the distinction between a font and a typeface before moving on to the main typefaces. It's possible that these two terms will occasionally be used interchangeably, but you should always keep in mind that a typeface is a collection of fonts and their variations, whereas a font is one of the text styles contained in a typeface. Consequently, a typeface is composed of various fonts to make things simple. Serif, sans serif, display, and script are the major types of typeface categories. Serif, these typefaces, commonly referred to as humanist styles. Extend the letter forms by a very small line. The serif typefaces are thought to be the most well-known and historic font types. They were inspired by classical calligraphy, because serif typefaces are regarded as having a more official appearance. You can find them in books, periodicals, and newspapers. Although a foot can be seen at the bottom of a letter to identify a serif, there are numerous other variations. Times New Roman is one of the most well-known serif versions. Serif sans serif typefaces are referred to as Roman, while sans serif types have been in vogue since the middle of the 20th century and have a more Gothic aesthetic. These fonts have a more defined, bold, and contemporary look. Arial is a well-known sans serif typeface that is used frequently in headlines and announcements. Script. These wavy font designs are tasteful, original, and highly artistic. They typically have the appearance of handwritten letters and have been around since the 20th century. Even if they are attractive, it is advisable to use these typefaces rarely and avoid overusing them due to the numerous variations they offer, many of which can be challenging to read. Display and ornamental typefaces are enjoyable, informal, and distinctive. They are typically used for short messages, such titles and headers, rather than for lengthy content. Many companies have used this typeface in their logos. Important guidelines and beginner advice: put readability first. Make your text readable is the most crucial typography rule. Your writing will be difficult to read if it has a small, unclear font, dark backdrops with dark text, or other similar issues. Instead of picking your favorite hues or fonts, think about how they could appear to someone else. Here are some ideas to help you write more expressively. Choose fonts that are taller or wider rather than extending your font and distorting it as a result. To choose the proper colors. Use color psychology and do some study on tints and tones that work well together. Just use a few fonts. Using more than 2, and no more than 3, typefaces will make your writing appear clunky and difficult to understand. Utilize grids. Use design grids to ensure that every last piece of your text design is flawlessly professional. It will make it easier for you to coordinate the components of your text creation and produce an aesthetically harmonious piece. Later on, you can switch to more intricate ones, but keep in mind that you don't need to put messages and objects on every inch of your page. Always leave plenty of white space between sentences. It will let your text to breathe and make it easier for the reader to understand the key points. Remember, typography is the process of giving your text a visual look. To put it simply, text fonts can be divided into 4 categories: serif, sans serif, script, and display. Selecting a template, adding text, and downloading your design are all that are required.